knew that was coming.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Jacksonville Tourism Development Authority meeting. Obviously, if you'll look at your agenda, you'll see that Mike Lazare is supposed to be here, but he's not, so I will be in charge, or I will be handling the meeting, not necessarily in charge. Welcome, everybody. We don't have too many guests with us, but we do have a couple over there, and I think you will be talking to us later, so welcome, and we have people around the table that will give reports, so we will talk to you when it's time. All right, I'll call this meeting to order, and the first order of business is the adoption of the agenda.
Move approval.
Do I hear a second? Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And now we will have the approval of the minutes from the May 31st meeting, on page 7. I hope you've had a chance to review those and look at them. If there's no addition and changes to it, I'll entertain a motion.
So move. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll get right to the authority matters, and the first order of business is the budget quarterly review. The fourth quarter overview is provided. Glenn, it's up to you.
Finance Director.
Well, we will go right to Ms. Gale.
As you can see, our revenue is over 100%, and that does not include June's. When I looked this morning, I was quite surprised. We've got another $100,000 in revenue for June that has not been accrued to this statement.
Wow.
So this is not audited numbers. This is just raw data. But the administrative fees, we've spent 89% of that. The tourism promotion, we've spent 46% of that. I know we've got some invoices that have not been paid or recorded yet. And then the tourism-related expenses, we've spent 31% of that. So we're in the good shape.
So in round figures, we can expect, excuse me, almost $1 million for this year. Is that correct? If you add 100,000?
It's gonna be close.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. That's about where we were a few years back, so things are moving in the right direction. Well, thank you for that. And next month, when you give the report, we expect the same $100,000 increase.
We'll see.
Thank you very much for that. All right, strategic work of the authority, the strategic initiative plan, which we looked at last week. Is this yours, Glenn?
Yes, we just want to let you know that we've made some modifications to it. It's adapting, it's a plan, and we're not going to bring every time we change a comma or a period to you in here because we will adapt and move. But we thought this was important enough that you see this part. One, the collaborative work to advance our area. You remember the strategic package, and we fit the budget that's there as it was. Well, the revisions are because obviously the visitor center is not going to become operational in the next 24 months. We lessened our efforts that were being prepared to make something happen with that. Number two, the work about basically when we started this in 2011, Miguel and Chris's counterparts told us that majority of people who were coming to stay in those facilities were people visiting their loved ones. And we all concentrated on trying to extend that stay. And this is stuff that we have talked about for a long time on that part, but we're going to reinforce that a little bit, bridge that up as it was, and then continue work. We'd pretty much lost our effort to try to recruit people to find where they live. You remember we said, we don't know where to advertise. We have no idea because they come from all over the United States. So how do you advertise to their parents to come or visit them or visit their loved ones or whatever? So, but we're going to continue work to attract them. We've got a couple of new ideas that have come up that may give us source back to those people as it was. So that's what we wanted to let you know. The complete plan, I did not put all those pages into your agenda. It is online with your agenda that's next to this meeting. So anyone that wants to look at it there, those are the 3 changes. Should you want to adopt the plan with that, it's fine. We're ready to, we're going to continue marching here, based on the spirit of what the plan was otherwise. Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you for that report, and I don't know any reason to not adopt it today, but whatever the members of the board want to do. We've reviewed it several times. You have it at your disposal online or at your house, so if you're ready, I'll entertain a motion to adopt it. Well, I didn't make the motion, but somebody will have to make a motion. You said second. Do you want to make the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to adopt.
A second? All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Your
Okay.
adoption really helps us when we're able to, when things come across our desk that don't meet our plan, we're able to use that as part of the power of not, buying some of that stuff or doing things such as that too. Plus, it keeps us focused. And with our partners that we have with the chamber, this is part of, they had considerable input into this, and we want to continue marching.
Well, I just think, just waiting another month is not going to give you guys the right direction, so let's move.
Oh, we are moving, you'll see.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, number 7 on the agenda, the Tourism Development Fund.
Well, let me first mention about that we've talked about we're moving. We'd like to share with you a couple of those things that we're doing right now.
Okay.
And so I'm going to basically ask Teresa to add to anything we go. We're going to go through this thing fairly fast, but we do want to make sure you know. Now, this includes Susan Dozer, which is, you remember her firm is DK Communication. She has had a lot of efforts on this matter, and our friends here as parts too with Visit NC. June 13th through the 15th, Teresa was quite the, as you can see, she welcomed him enthusiastically on that day. There was, she and Kim Tillman really were the ones that got this thing going, and it's been a wonderful effort. He shoots for some major magazines. If you've seen some of the promotional photography from Asheville and things like that, he's done a lot of those, and I think you'll see that it provides a value. We provided the models, and some of the folks there, some of them might look a little familiar to you.
These are our photos, by the way, not his.
Yeah. This is photos of him, yes. But here's what that produced. And we've got this high-quality photography now that, again, our associates are all welcome to it too. But the beauty of this is now Visit NC will be putting some of these photos up on the state website. And that, in and of itself, gives us something that's really important as it was. Here's he shooting. They had a rather eventful day. I was not there for it, out on the water. Thunderstorms, had to take cover at the base, et cetera, et cetera. They had quite the adventure there. But it produced this type of photography that we can use for things, and that's just really stunning. And Lee and Pat, I hope you all like what the result is of this one, because, boy, we do.
Wow, that's awesome.
We think this is something that really paints that in a nice way, type of situation there. So we have them all, and the beauty is that we've got people looking, they're casual, they've been, we got releases. We did some photography with with ducks for some food travel. Remember, we have been overwhelmed with the number of people who will travel because of food tourism and things such as that. So now we have some high quality shots that can work on that part. What would you like to mention on that one?
Well, that's it.
Okay.
Glenn, before you go any further,
He's a great, unbelievable photographer. I look forward to working with him
Who
some
is
more.
it?
His name is Jared,
I've forgotten.
yeah, I forgot his last name,
Glass.
I'm sorry.
Glass.
I need to
But,
put anybody on the
Glass.
spot.
yeah,
Can you go back to the first photo, please?
Okay.
of his or ours?
This
That's
one.
the first
This
one of his.
This one right here. That is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, think about it. We're talking about something around the water. You got the water, you got the base in the background, and then you got the water line. I mean, just think about that's in Jacksonville. That's in Onslow County. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Just a personal comment.
It's good to get someone else's eye. Also, like Glenn said in the past, is, we can all use photographers, but everyone you bring has a different eye and sees things differently. And I have to agree, Ken, he had a really good eye for some things. And he was himself was very enamored by Jacksonville. He was surprised. He confessed he didn't know what to expect, and he was hired, so he was coming anyway, and gave us some great input for the future, so.
Very good. Thank you.
And again, this is one of those that we paid for, and it's part of the packaging that we do with the partnership with the state. So this is where it goes. And now about, obviously, Deborah Houghton Noel. She was here basically to be with the Council for the Arts HEART program, which, by the way, tonight will air on, if you watch in North Carolina Weekend, that segment is set to air. Did I get that wrong?
No, you got it right.
Okay, thank you.
What time?
You gave it 9 o'clock, that part I
Yeah,
know.
9 o'clock. And then it'll also show again tomorrow night.
Oh, it shows all the weekend.
Yeah,
And plus,
yeah.
the segment, if you want to see it, it's already up on YouTube. So, I mean, they already do that there. And then with Onslow County, folks here with our chamber partners, we have gotten her to, she has experienced our beaches. She has stayed at places right on the edge and things like that. Laurette is a wonderful host. And so we got that. And
And I do want to say something about that.
okay.
Because Deborah called to thank everybody that did it, but she said, you have a real jewel down there at North Topsail. She said, are you sure you want to share that with everybody? I said, well, yeah, it's a double-edged sword on that one. But they thoroughly enjoyed their visit. They were very, very impressed.
And they went on bayonet cruises, and as you can see here, we took them on a tour of the gardens and such there, and we're getting reaction. She went back and put this on her personal page, and she's pushing for other things as a result of it. This is the placements that were actually, I don't see the dates on, but there was just days after she was here. I mean, this is pushing people to our community. And this is our part about, we'd like you to stay in Jacksonville and go to the beach and do things like that as it was. And the other parts of it is that after she had done the piece, remember we've talked previously about the Montford Point Marines, now we're seeing UNC TV really pick up on that. And we yesterday, for instance, we did have some coverage from some of the Raleigh stations were here. And so consequently, I suspect that some of that was in part fueled by this. Anything anybody else wants to add to that? So there have been tons of placements out there. And then this one, in your link that you'll have on your, if you're online, you can actually hit this link here and you can watch the piece with Houston that was on UNC TV. So that's why all that stuff's up there.
They did a great job.
Yep. And this Heart Gallery, this is going to be a following piece for this. And then the Visit and See piece. This was a blogger and her husband came down and enjoyed things as it was. And they took pictures of their own and saw places. And as you see out on the water, we really were trying to feature the water. This is a time, obviously, to do it. And this is the content that got posted on June 30th. And so we're seeing some of the effects of this also. Particularly, again, this food travel. This is just amazing that they want to know where to eat, what to do, and how to be out there as it was. And particularly the kayak fishing. You've got to watch that. And then Joe My Gosh, we like her a lot. She is the one that's got some, huge number of followers who are military spouses who have deployed loved ones. That's her niche. And she, though, keeps a lot of them who, after having made this connection, they still give information. I mean, this is trading information here. And there are people in this room who have had spouses who were deployed, and they recognize the value of that. And Donna was great help with this. So we go there. But her and her husband, they have just been wonderful in their visits here.
They love our area. In fact, her mother-in-law is planning a vacation for a month, and she's getting ready to retire. And so she said, we love the area. They particularly were in love with Hammocks Beach. And she's trying to talk her mother into coming to this location for her stay.
Anytime you can get your mother-in-law on board, that's a good thing.
That's what I'm thinking. She's a nice girl.
Now, as you see here, we are going to throw a little bit of the promotion budget at this to kind of boost some of the post through the weekends and such there. It produces results. So we're seeing that as it was too. So, and then the Base Fest was one of our sponsored events. We're in competition across the state to get your message out about what happens on July 4th. if you're left out of that listing, you're kind of left out of some things. So we have our partnership with MCCS on that part. We didn't cost them anything at all. This came out of our stuff here. It was $500, but it was just a great deal that got a lot of attention out there across the state that lets them know we don't fall silent on the 4th of July. And we don't know what residual visits will come out of it, but, it gives us that place as it was there too. That's what it looked like on the deal. So you want to talk about this part?
So one of our newest blogs is if you'll remember when originally we had the studies done, they concluded that obviously people come here for the military first and foremost, but our little hidden gem, if you will, our second needed to be a focus on the water. And with everything that Sturgeon City and the city have done, the city and Sturgeon City, I should say, has done with the river, is just perfect timing. And so we've put up a fishing blog that gives people ideas and just gains interest in fishing in our community and in our waters, and gives them ideas on who they might call to book fishing charters. We had no idea until we started delving into this just how many people you can call. There are a lot of inshore and offshore fishing charters.
And the beauty of it is it focused on us as it was. And then these are the other blogs that are talking about this. Tricia Ferguson works with Susan, so she's been helping with a lot of this. Here's one of the other pictures that Jared took, and we've used that in some of our blogs. We didn't show you every one of them,
We did one on biking and the trails. The one thing I should or should not say, but I'm going to, is we don't have a place that rents bicycles in our community, and that would be so helpful. So if there's anybody out there that wants to, look at a second business or add it to your kayak business, it would be a great thing for us to offer with our trails. We hear good things about them.
So that, Mr. Vice Chair, is what we have there on the strategic initiative plan that's being executed at this time. So that's what drives that. If you'd like me just to go ahead and segue into the Tourism Promotion Fund.
Please.
The Development Fund, excuse me. We now have worked on all the FY19 applications are out, with exception of one, left out in the car. But we've got those out as it was, and we're slowly getting those back. So that's it. The one that we want to talk to you about is Alley Temple. If you'll remember, this was part of the Arabian temple that's had the charity ball. And certainly our friends down there at the end know what happens when the charity ball does this. This fall, they now have their own temple here in Jacksonville, the Alley Temple. And so this fall, they did a small, this spring, they did a small operation just to see that they could do it and some things like that. They only did it for a couple of days. It was 2 days short than what the normal is, I think, there. And so consequently, when we brought them in to talk to them about what was going to happen this year with all of that, they mentioned about the potential of a January event. Well, I've heard January is not a great month, and this would be around January 13th. And so what the proposal is that the charity ball is kind of, they've kind of reached the limits of what space is available, this common theme that we're having. There's obviously some amount of churn, so that you've got to keep advertising for that, and there can be some expansion within the space they have, but they're reaching that limit. But for this other one, this is brand new, and at a time that our hoteliers could use the business. And so consequently, you see the nods down there at the end, could use the business there, and they're anticipating that they could at least get, they had 400 room nights from this 3-day event on the other deal there. They've gone up to as many as 600 room nights from the charity ball by itself. So, if it's a range in there, that's a significant part. What we're proposing is take $5,000 from that reserve that we have in the Tourism Promotion Fund already, that you've authorized us to spend for things. We want to put it to this group. So they'll have $25,000 between charity ball and this new event. And Teresa has already started working with them. We anticipate we'll probably spend more to the new event than we will to the old event. but we're still going to keep that, we're just going to do kind of institutional type advertising for that. So that's a matter for consideration of the authority.
I remember when they came and made their presentation, they were, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but I'll say it this way anyway. They were kind of in competition, if you will, with the New Bern folks.
They have worked it, so the charity ball that they were doing here, that date is preserved for the charity, but for the New Bern Temple to do in New Bern. So that October date, so this is why if they have theirs back in their traditional fallish time here, and then they have this in January, they're gonna feel pretty good about the deal. But they're looking now at keeping it in the spring, where they
Their
are.
charity ball will be in June.
Yeah, and where they felt it this time, and then do something over here. Now, the issue with the June, you know, Miguel told me he was full up, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we'd like to move them, you know, a little bit, edge them to another place or so there.
No, I think moving anything into the winter is what we've been, you know, trying to do all along.
Well, no one needs to do anything but look at the last page of your packet and see, you know, where you could see improvements here, you know? And I mean, that just kind of speaks right
So
there.
in talking with them, they were pretty convinced that this could be an ongoing yearly thing from now on in Jacksonville.
And again, this is one where you know your partners.
Right.
These guys, they put on a show.
They do.
And they've differentiated the two events, so they'll have some crossover and they can cross-promote it for the people that are here in January to come back in June. June is a formal,
Right.
and January is more of a party-type atmosphere and a little bit less casual, so they can attract some different folks that'll come as well, so.
All right, you have a proposal in front of you to consider allocating an additional $5,000 for this particular event
From reserve.
from reserves, comes from the reserves. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
we
Motion
just-
carries.
Thank you very much for your support. I
Thank you
just
for the
wanna-
presentation.
I want to mention to you that the only event that's happened since our last meeting was the MCCS Sensational. That's not an event that draws much overnight stay, so we don't have the final report on that. It'll be part of the Grand Prix Series final report. If you remember, though, in this year's Grand Prix, there's only 4 races. This is not one of them for next year. Because they're going to close the base to this race, this will only be available for patrons. So that's fine. This didn't really benefit us in any way in overnight stays. So the big races, we could feel the effects of those. We knew we were getting some overnight stays from those, and so this is just there. And you see your upcoming events I forgot to put that up. But anyway, these are the upcoming events, the National Night Out Race. Now, remember, this one is still kind of on us, but we're transitioning to the Sports Development Fund. This one is funded principally out of the money that was allocated previous year because events go from September 1st through August 31st. So it's fuzzy. Thank you, Scott, for handling that. And then September 15th, the Marine Corps Half Marathon, Final Touch Models Fashion Week, and New River Splash. Even though New River Splash is not one of the Tourism Promotion Fund events, it's one of our friends here. And then Oktoberfest, October 27th.
Very good, thank you. Scott, are you going to elaborate a little bit more on the?
Oh, he will.
New River Splash?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I'll wait, give my comments then. All right, thank you for that update. Anybody have any questions about any of the coming events? Fantastic. All right, moving along to number 8, we'll talk with our partners now, and we'll start off with Sturgeon City update. We have some exciting stuff going on down there.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Vice Chairman and authority members, for having me here today to speak with you guys. I just wanted to start off by showing you this fun photo here. The Sturgeon City Institute celebrated 20 years this summer, which is just an awesome testament to the commitment by the City of Jacksonville and Sturgeon City and our Onslow County schools that all partner with us to put on this program. So we took this group photo out at our site. And then I was just going to give you guys a brief update of kind of, we run on a fiscal year, so how we wrapped up our year. So this past year, we served nearly 8,000 students and citizens through our combined programs and outreach events. As it says, there are approximately 170 different programs. As I mentioned, the 20th year of the Sturgeon City Institutes, so we were excited to celebrate that. Shown here on your right are some images of one of our summer camp programs. We also run Camp Sturgeon throughout the whole rest of the summer, which serves kindergarten through 5th grade students and a couple weeks for middle school students. And this was our Coastal Explorers group getting a little lesson from our City of Jacksonville stormwater staff, Miss Pat Donovan Brandenburg and her team out on the boat, learning about what they do. And of course, mentioned on here as well, construction continues, and later in the presentation, we'll have a little bit more update, some visuals for you guys to see about how the progress is going down there with our new center. And I've just got some more photos in here. Left to right, we're looking at our Funky Physics camp went down to the Children's Museum in Wilmington this year for a field trip. So that was a new experience for us. In the center there is the Institute Science Academy Marine Biology group doing some dissections. Of course, on the right, we've got, that was our Public Safety Institute. They get a chance to learn about the canine unit. That's a fun part of their program every summer. And then we've got some more Institute-related photos here. Top left is touring the memorials, the Art Institute and New Generation Leaders Group. Top right is our Science Academy Engineering Group. They had a fun project this year. They got to design a city, but therefore also learn about how kind of the city works. Some of the governmental things, they were the wastewater, they were the utilities, they were the different parts. They had legal battles, they had the whole thing, so they kind of learned about that, which was interesting. Our New Generation Leaders doing one of their team building games on the bottom left, and then on the bottom right, that's our Classic Science Institute group out at Onslow Beach, where they get to spend the day learning about both the marsh side, so to speak, and the ocean side of the beach out there with our, again, with our City of Jacksonville stormwater staff and with several of our local Onslow County school teachers assisting with that program. And we've got, they brought Watson the Whale this year. UNCW brought that up here, and we got to take one of our camps to see that. It's a life-size Atlantic right whale that you actually can go inside, and they teach you a little bit about the whales. The top right, we did a family program this summer called Summer Nights, where we had local folks come out with us and actually tour Sturgeon City, the park, during the night to get to learn about frogs and owls and the different creatures that we see at night versus in the day. So that was a fun program. And our Nature Investigators Camp does an overnight camp out. So they got to make s'mores in this little fire pit that we brought out for them and make some other fun things overnight. And then, of course, some pictures of some of the frogs that we saw during our night trip around the Sturgeon City site. And with that, I think we're going to have a little video here of construction update for you guys. And then we've got a couple photos I actually went out and took today. So we are now lovingly calling it the giant purple box. This is the exterior sheathing, which will be part of the insulation. Next stage on top of this will be a weather barrier, which I'm told is bright blue. So it will continue to be very bright, noticeable colors. We've been informed it's noticeable from the bridge. So people are getting a good visual of the building in progress. But it is definitely starting to take shape and really look like something. You can see the shape of the structure here. They're going to be working soon more on the roof as well. We've been working on color selections. They've been having several pre-installation meetings with the brick masonry folks and the roofing folks and the wallboard folks. So basically, everything's going to kind of start to move in conjunction here pretty quickly soon. Of course, as you saw earlier in the construction process, we had winter weather issues. Now we've had our summer weather issues, some of which were this week full of rain. So a couple things are a little bit behind, but we're still moving steadily along, and we're very excited to be having this building hopefully complete, here in the first couple months of 2019.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Paula, for that update. And as you can see, we almost have a building. All right, work by the Jacksonville Onslow Sports Commission. Scott?
Yes, sir. I'm still trying to figure out why you and I weren't asked to be models at that photo shoot.
I don't know, miscommunication of some sort.
I didn't get the email, so,
We apologize.
well, it's okay.
Next time.
Thank you, and wanted to share with you, first, before we get some other things, just some successes from the last fiscal year and I'll go very quickly through these, but we started a monthly e-newsletter. Used to do the old school print 4 times a year, send out. Obviously, we can get a lot more information out in a more timely fashion doing it this way. Our social media growth continues to improve. You can see there we've up about 100 on Twitter, 150 on Instagram, and about 700 on Facebook. So we continue to grow those areas. We also started a new website that we can keep updated and has a lot of moving videos when you go to different sports. So we've got some good comments from that. Also, and obviously this is a group that receives these, started producing these community reports that hopefully give you a good snapshot of what each event has done and that you can see, where your funding is going and the impact it's having on our community. We also revived the Friends of the Sports Commission campaign. Obviously, with all the new events that we are starting, we need money because there's no guarantee that you're going to get a title sponsor for every one of these new events. So we generated a little over $16,000 in that this year after it kind of going stagnant for a year there during all the transition. Sponsors obviously are key for us. We had 14 different event sponsors for 2018. The 7 logos you see on the screen there were first-time sponsors. So very thankful to have those new folks on board. We extended 3-year contracts with Marine Fed and Bob Mills Mitsubishi for the Jamboree, as well as a 5-year extension for the Hall of Fame with Coastal Bank and Trust. New events added, and obviously this is what you guys like to see. And I came on board July 10th of last year, and we had that inaugural New River Splash, so to speak. We attempted to have a basketball event, and we just didn't. We had a decent amount of teams, but they were too spread out over all the different age groups. So we had to cancel it for this year, and we've actually moved it to a better time of year for 2019. But you'll see all the things already listed as we head into 18-19. New River Splash, the SUP races, and the triathlon, and I'll touch on that quickly here in a second. The East Coast Hoop Fest, that is what was Jacksonville Classic. Another new lacrosse event in October, partnering with the Oktoberfest for a softball tournament. We have our Frozen Custard Challenge, and then we're also working on a race series, a race called Escape from Bear Island, and a Sledgehammer Beach Run. So lots of new things on the horizon that we are very busy working on already. So estimated economic impact from last fiscal year, right under $3 million. Now, if you look at the 2 previous years, it was a little over 4. And it's because there was an anomaly in there, and it's a great anomaly that we'd love to have, but Rallycross was 1.8 million, that one event. So if you take that one event out, this was actually the second highest economic impact total in the history of the Sports Commission. So a very good year. And then room nights was actually the most ever, 6,665 room nights from those events last year. Now, East Coast Invitational happened just a few weeks ago, as you all know, and in your packet, there's a recap sheet on that, plus you should have received the email. 38 teams, $478,000 in economic impact, and 360 room nights. So obviously, that's an event that's been here a long, long time that is very key to our community, and one that we hope to continue to have and grow. Obviously, we've talked about a facility in the future. One thing would be that would all be under one roof and you could grow it. The other thing is there's some, and I won't bore you with this, but there's some legislation in the federal government now after all the AAU basketball scandal that could have this event poised at a great time of year. So they're looking at the last 2 weeks of June, which is when this is. You could only go recruit players if they were doing something with their high school team. So if all that takes place, then we may see Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski and those guys here at ECI in the future, which would obviously also then attract more teams. Here's just a few more photos from that. So also last weekend, International Senior Softball Association was here. We fund that some financially, and Susan and her staff do a great job of hosting them at the Commons. That was 19 teams, economic impact of about 94,000 and about 285 room nights. And that's one that's been here several years in a row. And then I'll just mention 2 upcoming events. August 9th and 10th is our football jamboree, 20 varsity teams. Great event. Very, very excited about that. So hope to see all of you there. And then the other that Mr. Hagan touched on is New River Splash, September 15th and 16th. So on Saturday, a stand-up paddleboard races. And then Sunday is a 5K and a triathlon. But we've also extended that to basically include every combination of race you can think of. So if you don't like to swim, you can bike and run. If you don't like to bike, you can swim and run, et cetera, et cetera. And so those are upcoming. Great relationship with the police department and the sheriff's office, working out all those bike routes and safety and boats in the water that you have to have for an event like that. So it is a major undertaking, but obviously once you get all that in place the first year, it becomes easier year after year. So looking forward to that one as well. And if you weren't going to, please make the comment that you made at our annual meeting about New River Splash, because it's a great idea.
Well, for those of us that have been here in this community a long time, this is an amazing event from the standpoint that they're actually going to get in that river and swim. I want you to think about that for a minute. Who would have gotten in that river and swam even 15 years ago? I mean, that is just a huge, huge leap forward. Now, you know, the boaters have been out there fishing and that sort of thing, but to actually, you know, have people go into the water and feel safe and comfortable swimming in the New River is just an amazing thing. So,
Well, and you had a great idea of we need to do tying in that event and Sturgeon City and the cleanup and the history, some news articles after the fact with the photos to go with it. So.
well, yeah, I mean, the news media needs to be on board with this because, you know, down through the years, the city's been criticized many times about dirtying up the river. Now here's a great opportunity for us to kind of toot our horns and say, guess what we did? We cleaned this river up and now people can get into it. So, yeah, we need to follow up on that. I'd also like to follow up on the softball tournament that was held this weekend, the seniors. I stayed down there most of the time and got to talk with a lot of the people from out of town. They were very impressed with our community, first of all. They like the fact that we have really nice hotels, really nice restaurants close to the fields, and they can't wait to come back. So, you know, as this is what we're all about. You know, the Sports Commission, what they're all about and what this organization is all about. The other thing I'd like to comment about is the hard work that the Recreation Department staff put into making this tournament go. If you'll recall, Friday night we had rain, Saturday we had rain, and Sunday we had rain. They got the tournament in, and they got it in on schedule. Now, how did they do that? The recreation people were out there in the mud, pushing water, getting the fields ready. Now, Scott, I got to talk to a lot of the coaches and a lot of the players. They were very appreciative of that. And that's how you get teams to come back to your community.
Sure. That staff does an amazing job with that tournament. I mean, really, we do about as much as hand them a check to get them to come back. So they do all the work. They do a great job with that, and the fields are great. I know that, I think they moved some games or had some additional games at Northeast Creek Park
Did.
to be able to get that in because of the rain. Because I went out there Friday afternoon about 2 o'clock, and they had to call it because of the rain, and they would have been playing for several more hours.
Well,
So
he
they
was
did a
able to
great job.
move, he was able to move some games over to Northeast Creek because those fields drain much better. And so, by late Saturday, he was back on schedule, and he finished up on time Sunday. But they did a terrific job, and he had, Recreation, they had 4, 5, 6 people out there just making it happen. And as a former player myself, you really appreciate that effort. And I heard many of the coaches, and as a matter of fact, some of them came down there Sunday morning after the rain we had Saturday night. Some of them came down there Saturday morning and said, "You mean we're playing?" They figured the tournament was over and they were going to go back home. So they were very, very complimentary to what took place. And that's, like I said, that's how you get these teams back, because they remember that and they say, well, Jacksonville treated us well. Let's go there. We have a great time. So it's all coming together. It's all coming together. All right, anything else, Scott?
No, sir, not unless anyone has a question.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Good report. Tourism work by the Chamber of Commerce. Donna?
I'm gonna have to have me a nice little PowerPoint for the next meeting. I feel left out. I'll have to get that together. But just Mr. Glenn said I had to be really quick because Miss Pat and Mr. Lee might be staring a hole through the back of me. But anyway, just really quick, we, as I mentioned in our May meeting, that we had a company called Moonlight Communications came in and did a video shoot of the county, and that took place on June 9th. We have had a meeting, and now they've started kind of compiling all of those video assets into a lot of 15-second and 30-second clips that we'll be using for social media pushes in the future. Also, I'd mentioned about Bob Garner, that turned with UNC TV for Weekend Now. That did really well. He actually has 6 restaurants that he wants to come back and shoot. The first 3, he was supposed to done it earlier this month, but they've kind of changed their format of taping, so he said it's looking like it's going to be at some point next month. There isn't going to be one in Jacksonville this time, but there will be one on the second taping that they do early 19. So very excited about that. I don't really want to say what restaurants they are because he hasn't officially contacted them yet, but very excited about that. So at least my efforts of all that eating are going to pay off. So it is a job. I don't care what anybody says. I have a local couple things that I do for promoting events and different things that doesn't cost any money. I don't necessarily know that it generates heads on beds, but it's just a way for some of our local events that are on a smaller level that don't have big budgets for them to go and kind of share information. And that's with Down East Today in Kinston that I go over every month. And now I have a monthly standing segment on WSME's The Brown Report. So I get to go talk with Ashley Mosley and Harry Brown every month and just kind of talk about things that are happening within Onslow County. I took Mr. Scott with me last week.
I'm a big star in Kinston
Yeah,
now.
yeah, and I videotaped him while he was out there doing his interview there as well. But, and again, they told me that I can bring partners with him to kind of talk about, so you're getting it firsthand from the folks that are hosting the events and the different things that are going on. Just July was a busy month for tourism bags. Miss Melissa put together 1,135 of those. That was distributed out, and mostly for smaller family reunions, kind of booking 50 rooms a night or less, and then a couple of smaller events. With her reporting on how, I guess, for information that she collects, we kind of total up of maybe about 495 room nights just for family reunions that were in the area. And she did have 70 more that she was doing today that aren't included in that. That would be a 2-night stay. So it's actually a little more than that, but that's not bad for July for tourism folks coming in. But those are the only ones I can report that tourism has been directly associated with in making the bags, and then they're sharing their room night information. And also the guides, as you can see there, came in. So Miss Teresa went down and was so kind to pick up an early delivery. Last Thursday, Melissa and I hit the road and visited all of Onslow County hotels and motels and the surrounding visitor centers, and we distributed 1,800 ourselves. There was a drop shipment out directly from the printer that went out to all the North Carolina welcome centers. They each got a little stash, and that totaled about 3,000. So already about 5,000 plus of our guides are on the streets in and around North Carolina, so that's pretty exciting. All of the hoteliers were very excited to receive them. If they didn't have display racks that they could put the information in, they were keeping them behind the counter so they can use as a resource to give out to guests. And then we're even offering a refill service where they contact Melissa, and then once a week she'll go around and redeliver, through the busy season as they need them, just so they kind of have the information. Another thing I've been working on is a tour guide pitch sheet that I'm going to be taking with me down to Greenville, South Carolina on August 8th through the 12th. It's called Whiskey, Wine, and Wonderful Eats. I'm partnering with Duplin County, starting over there, having a one-night stay and having a two-night stay in Onslow County. So I just got all that back, and they're off to the printer now, so I'm very excited about that, and hopefully it all works out, as well as taking an Onslow County pitch sheet itself to kind of go along with it. I'll be hosting 2 travel writers in August, Caroline Eubanks and Blake Guthrie. They're millennial travel writers. I just finalized their itinerary now with the company Lori Rowe Communications. I had to dig deep, and thank you for STS Marketing College in June. I sort of know how a millennial thinks. It's very different than how our age group thinks, and trying to find things interesting that would excite them and want to do here. So they seem pretty excited about the itinerary, so we'll see how it all goes. They will be staying one night in Jacksonville, and then the other 2 nights will be out within the county. And just with the same company, I have 3 that are going to be coming in September, and I'm trying to share the love of having them stay in Jacksonville at least one night and then out in the county as well. And in regards to travel writers, I am working for our August and September press room that we have with Lori Rowe Communications, what they use to pitch to travel writers to try to get them excited. And it's going to be titled History and Heritage. It's putting together our county's military heritage as it's related to Camp Lejeune and how and why the base came about. It's just our part of the Bumblebee Project and kind of leading into the Montford Point Marines. And of course, that kind of goes into our African American Heritage Trail and just kind of in the gardens and just sort of bringing the common threads that sort of bring everything together, ending in Hammock Beach State Park. I'm very excited because I have a professional writer doing this. I'm just providing the information, and I'm going to steal it when she's done, and it's going to be on my website. So looking forward to that. Also on August 28th, I will be going to the women's prison in Raleigh doing a presentation on Onslow County. I have invited 9 partners to come along with us. Teresa asked who was coming, but she didn't say she was officially going yet to represent on behalf
I just
of
was curious, who all's
Jacksonville.
volunteering besides me?
Yeah.
to do this?
We'll make sure they don't keep you there.
Well, I hope not.
I might not
And-
pass clearance, though.
And
We
you
got a
know,
problem.
again, some of the photos that you had, it would be a nice PowerPoint or a little video or something that you can share, because we have one that we're going to do as well. Just anything that we can bring, kind of promote Onslow County, because it's changed a lot and since 5 years when the last time they were over visiting. And we are bringing back the hospitality training program. Peggy Garner from the Jacksonville Cooperative Extension will be instructing the class, and the first one will be on September 13th and September 20th. We're getting the final official information from NC State before we put it out to the hoteliers, but I think we're going to have a full class the first time around. Have asked if I can take the certification course in case Peggy is unable to attend. That way we don't have to try to reschedule everything, because emergencies and things do happen, so that we can continue on with that. Numbers for occupancy on a county level, just because I love numbers. Overall, as a county, $1,756,852.74 has been collected through May. I don't have June's numbers. Amy told me that I'd probably have them by the end of the week, so I didn't have those to share today, but we're already up 9.16% over last year at this time. And just kind of going back in the records, because I'm still sort of going through everything, dating back to the time of when occupancy tax began being collected in Onslow County, back 86, 87. At the time of the reporting, $129,202.71, compared to $1,756,852. I mean, that's just pretty amazing with the numbers and how the county has grown. So, and with the STAR report, I mean, it just keeps going up, and according to the report today from the state, I mean, the state across the board as a whole, occupancy is up, so, I mean, it's kind of looking good for Onzo County and the state going into 2019. But other than that, that's just kind of about it for me. I guess I'm trying to keep it quick. I did want to just share this real quick. I should have sent it to you. But this is just an ad that we did in partnership with Jacksonville Tourism, where you receive your heroes welcome. We're doing it in the Carolina Heritage Guide, and we will anchor this page here that opens up into a map of North Carolina and where everything is. So it's very good placement, and we got a pretty good deal on that too. So, and then oddly enough, you're talking about fishing. That is my ad campaign with our state for September. And we're also allocating our social media campaign with a company called Punch Drunk that kind of targets fishermen. We're doing it all about fishing in the creeks, rivers, and backwaters, not just offshore fishing. And I'm helping out Mr. Scott here for August. We're doing a whole campaign geared towards targeting sup paddlers, I guess, for his festival he's having, then also the triathletes. So hopefully we help get him a couple participants to swim the new river and paddle the new river. Now I'll be quiet and turn it over to Miss Pat, or back to Mr. Glenn.
All right, a couple of questions, or a couple of comments. Is this on the interstates at the Welcome Centers?
Yes.
Great. And Donna, looks like you hit the ground running.
We did. I have a lot more to talk about, but he said be quick, and there's a really big project I'm going to undertake, but I'll share that information later.
Well,
But very excited.
Lorette, I think the county done good. All right, thank you. All right, any, excuse me, any questions for Donna? Okay, great report, Donna, thank you. All right, authority matters, request for capital funding. We have a couple of visitors that would like to talk to us, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, our friend Pat. The floor is yours, my dear.
Well, I don't have a whole lot, other than the fact that I can tell you, this past week, we were given $75,000 by the county. We're very excited about that. Montfort Point Marine Association has their convention this week, and we expect a sizable check from that entity as well. There's about 20,000 cash right now in the bank, so we are moving along. And the quicker I think we can get this done, the better off everybody's going to be. They were really pleased when that announcement was made Wednesday morning at the gifting ceremony. So I know people are enthused about it. It's something we need. We need the restrooms out there. And it shouldn't take us long to get it built once we have the funds in place.
Just as a reminder, what is your total budget?
The total budget is $375,000.
Okay, so you got 75 from the county tourism, and then you got 20 in the
And the
bank.
county assured us that they, on their next budget, they will be relooking to see if they can get us the extra 25.
Okay. Has the project been, excuse me, officially endorsed by the base yet?
Yes,
It has?
that's all done. We have we're waiting for John Sennett to get back into town. He took a 8-month travel tour, or an 8-week travel tour of the United States with his grandchildren.
Good for
So we're
him.
waiting for them to get back. He's due back sometime this week or the first of next week. And then we'll have our blueprints. Pro Construction is on standby to build. So we have pretty much all our ducks in a row. Well, according to Secretary of the Navy, we have to have the money first before we can do anything, so.
Has
that's-
anybody stepped forward from the base or anywhere else to say that they'll operate this once it's up and running?
No, not yet. They have some ideas. We'll be going to a steering committee Friday morning. We'll be getting more information on that. But knowing the base like I do and how they've taken care of the Vietnam Memorial, I'm not expecting much.
Good.
So,
Have you shared, what is, I know the Marine Corps Museum is a big part. Have y'all interacted at all, or where?
no. We were held up, see, in the original plans, when we did this, when we built the memorial, it was in the drawings to do the visitor center and a small natural amphitheater. This was all in the original planning. Well, when the Marine Corps Museum came on board, the base put us on hold and said, well, they're going to supply bathrooms. Well, it took us almost 3 years to argue with them that if you're at the Montfort Point and that time arises, then you got to walk all the way to the museum. That's retarded. And we finally, about almost a year ago, got approval from the base to go ahead. They realized it's something we're going to need.
Okay. Well, as you know, there are several other memorials out there. Is everybody gonna share the use of this, or?
Everybody will share the use. What we foresee happening is we'll have computers in there. In each computer, there will be a history of how the Beirut came about, why it's there, the same for the Vietnam, the same for the Montfort Point, the same for the beam. And as things go on, we'll keep adding to that information. So when you go in there, you're going to be able to go on the computer, find out all the information. At the same time, we'll have display cases with things that have been left at the different memorials that people have gathered, so that that's on display. I brought 2 months ago, I brought a book in that our daughter is putting together. She now has 5 books done similar to that one, which tells about the people from the Vietnam era. And that seems to be a big thing that people are looking forward to seeing. And she's done one now on the POWs from the 39 that are still missing from North Carolina. And she's getting feedback tremendous, even from some of the Vietnam veterans in Canada that have emailed her and said, well, we'd like to be a part of this. So I know the interest is there, and I know it's growing.
The golf cart.
We've already had one golf cart donated. We hope to get another one donated, and they'll be out there all the time so that those who can't walk this distance, and you have to figure this is 23 acres that are being developed, a lot of people can't walk that. So we'll have the golf cart out there so that people can see it.
Okay. The request that I see up is for 100,000. Is that what you're asking from us?
Yes,
One time 100,000?
yes.
Okay. So,
Because we figured if the city, the county, and Montfort Point, and they were pretty sure with money they had left over, money that they can generate through all their chapters, because they're not just doing this locally, they're involving the entire network of Montfort Point chapters across the United States, that they will come up with near that amount. And then we're out fundraising like we did for the memorial. We're out all the time.
so you feel pretty confident with your estimate of what it'll cost and where you are in your fundraising, that you're going to be able to accomplish that?
Yes,
all
sir,
that? Okay.
we do. And the only other thing I'd like to tell you, when you're talking about all your all your events coming up, in 2019, we are bringing the Marine Corps League Department Convention to Jacksonville. which should generate a lot of heads on beds. And we have our bicycle run for Rees Across, motorcycle run for Rees Across America on September 15th. And they're coming from Virginia, South Carolina, and the western part of the state. So we know we'll generate tourism at that point.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much for the information. With not all of the members being here, especially the chairman, I think we need to review this and take a serious look at this at our next meeting, which, by the way, is not until September, so that we can have all our members here, have them ask any questions or have any, ideas of their own. And I think there's still some things out there that need to be fine-tuned for everybody's satisfaction as to how it's going to be staffed and all of that sort of stuff. But, the county has stepped forward, and, we'll have to take a real serious look at that, in my opinion. Any members have any comments? Do you feel comfortable waiting to make sure all of our members are here and we can all review this together? Everybody agree with that? Okay, all right. Again, thank you for your presentation, and we will have this on our agenda for September to take a good hard look at and decide what we want to do, okay? All right, thank you. All right, item number 12, the City of Jacksonville tax collections. I'll turn it back over to you, Glenn.
Well, these numbers are from the collections that were just reported as of Monday, so this is where we are at that point. As you can see, it is at 964 at this time, which is 8% above where we were at the end of the fiscal year for 17. So we're seeing the same type of trend that obviously the county numbers we're seeing there. And, it is above 3.3% above what the same county trend was before we started with collections in FY11. So that gives you that. And then here's the chart, and of course, this is where you can see December obviously is the big dip there, but you can see back from FY17, the big dip was in January. We don't know why, but that's what it was. And the historical dip is also in December there, but so an event in January clearly won't be turned away during that time as it was too. And because Western Boulevard is the big dog that hunts here, you can notice that definitely look at FY11 compared to this FY18. That's a considerable rise above that. Now, there are more facilities and there's more things there, and obviously when you look at what's happened in McDaniel Drive and the other, and of course we've got about $20,000 coming from offline that's not paid through the facilities there, so those numbers are interesting. And it's real interesting to see the low point of December, January, is just very, that's a trough, it's not a dip that's just right there at it, so. But that's what we had to show you, sir.
Thank you very much. Any comments? All right, let's keep moving in the same direction.
Well, for the one city moment, to promote civility, we couldn't think of anything better than to just talk about what happened yesterday. There was a real event that was supported by the community. Obviously, the mayor and the, chairman of the county commission were speaking there, and General Hedlund, I thought his comments were just so on target. He was really there. The mayor made all the Montford Pointers honorary citizens of Jacksonville and pledged to continue to help find other Montford Pointers who have not yet been recognized for the matter there. It was a nice gathering. We got to see what people look like when they're wet.
That's a great shot.
It started out, this was somebody who you all know well. Houston was recognized for his role, and I think he sees this as somewhat of a relief, as he was doing there. And, yeah, this is about now the rain arrived in this ceremony about this time. And this was the official passing of the gift over, and they used a representative statue as a part of the presentation there. And by this time, it was pretty good raining, and I was he, is it Gunny Sergeant, Pfizer, I can't remember
Yes.
his name
Yeah.
there, but anyway, but he can tell some history, and he did. And he told, it was very moving and such there. The rain obviously had a little effect on it, but, that's what it was there too. And that's what we have proposed for our One City moment.
Thank you very much, Glenn. All right, any comments from the directors?
No comment.
Okay.
No comment?
Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today, and again, you hear me say this all the time, but when we see things like the ceremony that happened yesterday, it just makes, at least me, feel very good about what we accomplish, what we do, and how this money's being spent. It's just fantastic to watch. I'll
And as a note, I
entertain.
should say real fast, you did see the billboard we put up to welcome them to
Yes,
town.
yes, that was good. The other thing I would remind everybody is we do not meet next month. Enjoy your month off and come back ready to work in September. The next meeting is September the 27th at 1:30. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.